I never thought there would come a day when I'd be kicked out of the very house I grew up in. And on Easter no less. But that day, my mother only needed 3 words to turn me into a stranger. No hug, no greeting, not even a warm glance. Just a whisper laced with thorns, like a dagger, straight to my chest. "Don't come in." I stood there, on the tiled porch, holding a bottle of premium red wine and a basket of handmade chocolate eggs. The kind of gifts that used to make my mother beam with joy. But now, that woman just pulled the door almost shut, like I was a thief knocking to break in, not the daughter she raised for 28 years. I forced a smile, pretending it was just a bad joke. "You're joking, right?" I asked, my voice dry. But she shook her head. "No, Victoria, today isn't the time. The family's having a good time and—" She hesitated, glancing behind her like someone might overhear. "Emily said if you show up, she won't come inside." I didn't need to ask further. Emily, my half-sister, had been controlling the mood in this house ever since Mom remarried. With her perfectly styled blonde hair, a voice sweet as syrup but full of venom, and a long list of emotional issues that always won Mom over, Emily never had to share attention with me. Ever. Laughter echoed from inside. I heard glasses clink, and Uncle Mark's booze-soaked voice. "Cheers to a family that truly sticks together." Then Emily's voice rang out, sweet as artificial sugar. "This Easter is so peaceful, no drama, no negativity." My hand tightened around the wine bottle's neck. The April wind blew gently, rustling my dress, but the cold in my chest cut far deeper than the breeze. I had driven 3 hours from San Diego to Santa Barbara, taken time off work, and spent nearly $300 putting together gift baskets for the kids. I even wore the floral dress Mom once said looked so good with your skin tone. I thought, it's Easter. It's family. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe I'd be welcome. I was wrong. Deep down I knew I wasn't wanted. I was just a walking wallet. The keeper of the power, water and internet bills. The one who owed them forever just for not being a burden. A background character in the family play, where Emily was the star. Mom looked at me, her eyes avoiding mine. She wasn't angry, just scared. Scared that my presence might upset Emily. Scared Emily might have another episode because of my negative energy. I nodded. "Well then, have a peaceful Easter," I said, my voice light as air, but each word sharp as steel. Then I pulled my phone from my purse and opened my payment app. My fingers tapped each item. Electricity, minus cancel payment. Minus cancel payment. Wi-Fi, cancel. Auto renew. Inside the house, the lights flickered. A loud shout came from the living room. "What the hell? The Wi-Fi's out." Emily's voice. No mistaking it. I looked straight into Mom's eyes, for the first time in years without backing down. "Don't expect that $3,200 anymore. I'm not your walking utility pole." Mom reached out as if to stop me, or maybe to cling to the last shred of dignity. But I was already turning away. My tires rolled over the damp pavement as I left in the fading sunlight. Behind me, the buzzing chaos of a hive just struck. No one ran after me, no one apologized, no one called out, "Victoria, don't go." And for the first time in years, I wasn't sad. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't look back. I had just placed a period on the role I used to play, the daughter who endured, forgave, and was never truly loved. I hadn't even left the neighborhood yet when I heard a shout behind me. "What the hell?" Emily's high-pitched voice rang out, dripping with rage. "Who cut the Wi-Fi?" I didn't turn around, just tilted the rearview mirror enough to see my sister storming out the front door, phone raised like she was ready to punch the air. My mother followed behind her, clutching the pastel scarf she always wore when guests were over, her symbol of being the perfect suburban mom of Santa Barbara. The phone in my hand buzzed softly as the final notification popped up. "Water service canceled successfully." I smiled, but not with relief. It was the smile of someone who had just defused a ticking time bomb buried in their chest after years of silent tension. Emily screamed again, louder this time. "This can't be happening? Why is everything shutting down?" I rolled down the car window as I drove slowly past the little alley in front of the house. "Ask someone who's actually in the house, Emily," I said loud enough for her to hear. "I'm just the ghost who got kicked out of the party." She spun around, her face bright red, gripping her phone like it might shatter in her hands. "Are you crazy? There are kids here. They're hunting eggs. How are they supposed to play without internet?" I shrugged. "Maybe you'll have to teach them how to play outside. Or, better yet, explain why Aunt Victoria wasn't invited this year." My mom stepped in, her voice trembling. "Victoria, you shouldn't do this. It's Easter. It's a day for family to be together." I laughed, this time dry as sand. "Are you seriously trying to lecture me about family values after slamming the door in my face?" I narrowed my eyes. "After letting Emily erase me from the guest list because of negative energy?" Mom opened her mouth like she wanted to explain, but no words came out. Another shout came from inside the house. "There's no water!" Uncle Mark's voice rang out, panicked. "Has anyone checked the meter?" I gently pressed the gas, starting to pull away from the driveway. But I didn't get far before a white SUV shot out of the garage and blocked the road. Emily stood in the middle of the path, hands on her hips, eyes blazing. "You don't have the right to do this, Victoria," she screamed. "That's Mom's house, it's where I live. You can't just destroy everything because you're throwing a tantrum." I didn't rush to get out of the car. Instead, I pulled out my phone again and scrolled to the streaming payment section. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max. One by one, I tapped "Cancel Service." When I finished, I looked up. "You think I'm just throwing a tantrum? No, Emily." I opened the car door, stepped out, and stood tall in front of my sister, for the first time in years. "I canceled everything because I'm tired. Tired of always being backstage. Tired of being a talking wallet. And if you think I'm going to keep funding this while you and Mom treat me like the unwanted stepchild, then you're crazier than I am." Emily's mouth dropped open, but she had no argument. A child's wail came from inside the house. My mom ran back in, panicked. The whole scene looked like a dark comedy. I returned to my car, shut the door, and rolled down the window one last time. Happy Easter! No lights, no water, no internet. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of positive energy, just like you wanted. And then I drove away. No looking back. No hesitation. No regret. For the first time in my life, I felt like I'd finally pulled the emergency exit lever on the prison I used to call family. Instead of heading straight back to San Diego like I planned, I stopped at a parking lot near Goleta Beach, took off my shoes and let my bare feet sink into the cold sand. The salty air and steady sound of the waves were the only things keeping me sane. I pulled out my phone and reopened my banking app. It took just seconds for the truth to hit me again, cold and naked. In the past 12 months, I had sent exactly $9,842 to cover their expenses. 3 years. 3 years of quietly paying for electricity, water, gas, internet for a house I wasn't even allowed to enter anymore, all because my sister wasn't comfortable with my presence. It all started when my dad, Charles, lost his job at 56. The construction industry tanked, his company shut down, and within months they were drowning in debt. I had just landed my first full-time job in finance, and I immediately offered, "I'll help cover the bills for a while, until Dad finds something new." 3 years later, Dad was still waiting on a project. And me? I'd become an ATM without a PIN. Water, $73/month. Electricity anywhere from $180 to $240 depending on the season. Internet, $91 for a high-speed package because Emily can't stand lag when working online. Add to that all the extras, family phone plan, streaming bundles, sometimes Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Spotify Premium, and recently a Peloton no one even used. I still remember the time Mom called me at 10 p.m., whispering, "Sweetie, the dentist said I need to redo 2 porcelain crowns. It's not urgent, but..." I'm embarrassed to smile. I wired $2,400 without question, not even a proper thank you. Just a, "I'll pay you back soon." But in my mother's dictionary, soon meant never. And then there was the whole thing with Emily and the pearl-colored SUV. She didn't qualify for a loan on a new car. My mom called, her voice sugary sweet. "Victoria, your sister needs a safe vehicle. Can you co-sign so she can get approved more easily? Just for a year." I nodded, like an idiot. 6 months later, I got a payment notice from the bank, because Emily forgot to pay for 2 months in a row. I had to shell out $1,700 just to protect my credit score. I used to think it was my duty. I used to believe in that whole older sister has to sacrifice thing. But the kind of sacrifice they wanted never had a finish line. It was like a bottomless pit. The more you poured in, the more disappeared without a trace. Without recognition. I once overheard Emily mocking me behind my back at a Christmas party. "Victoria always looks like she's about to read someone's will. Long face, no husband, no kids. But at least she's got money, so she's still useful." My mom didn't defend me. She just sipped her wine and said, "Oh, Emily, your sister's just tired." Tired? Yeah, I was tired. But not because of work, or because I had to help. I was tired of being laughed at while carrying the weight of responsibilities they should have shared. I once told Emily during a dinner at Olive Garden, "You know that 'lucky you don't have kids' comment you made? That's the exact reason you feel zero guilt calling me whenever you want money." She waved me off, smirking. "Please, don't act like you're some kind of saint. You're just buying a sense of control by paying bills." I remember the lemonade glass in my hand trembling slightly, but I swallowed the anger and smiled. Like the nice sister. The understanding eldest. Until today. Today, as I stood in front of the house that once felt like home, and was turned away by my own mother just because I made my sister uncomfortable, I finally understood. I was never truly part of this family. I was the sponsor. The silent wallet. The backup plan. Not anymore. I looked at my phone, the screen's glow lighting up my face in the dark. I tapped the final button. Cancel, auto bill pay, sync. The lights I used to keep on in that house would start to dim. The water would stop flowing. The Wi-Fi would disappear. And for the first time in years, they'd have to live with the consequences of the disregard they showed me. I don't remember how long I stood in front of that door that day. Just that both hands were full of grocery bags, and my heart clenched when I heard a familiar voice from the kitchen. It was a Friday afternoon, about 3 weeks before Easter. I had stopped by to drop off some organic items Mom liked, along with fresh baguettes from a bakery I'd just discovered in San Marcos. No one knew I was coming. I planned to leave the groceries and head out. But the laughter inside made me freeze. "She's always wound up like a violin string," Emily's voice rang out. Clear, cold like a knife. "She takes everything way too seriously." "She lives alone. Who wouldn't be tense?" My dad chimed in. "Probably goes a whole week without talking to anyone. People like that snap easily." I stood frozen. My heart pounded so hard it made my ears ring. Then Mom spoke. Softly, but it cut deeper than anything else. "Well, at least she's useful. If not, we would have had our power cut long ago." Emily laughed loudly. "Exactly, at least she's got money. No kids, no love life, nothing to spend on, so it's only right she helps us." "I mean, I'm the one who needs support," Dad added, without hesitation. "I'm young, I've got a future. Well, she's just got her job, and her bank account." Mom didn't object. No one did. Just the sound of clinking glasses, and someone saying, "Shows." I took a step back, bumping into the porch wall, making one of the apple bags fall and scatter, but I didn't pick it up. I left the groceries, got in my car, and drove straight back to my apartment, without a word. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through every transaction on the secondary credit card I had given Mom, for emergencies only. And there they were. Line by line, each one hitting like a punch. MacBook Pro $1,899. 4-day meditation retreat in Sedona, $3,200. Full body treatment at Serenity Spa, $650. Plane tickets to Palm Springs, $438. Health app subscriptions, $74.99/month x 6 months. I opened the transaction list, cross-referenced the dates with Emily's Instagram posts with captions like, "Meditation is how I find myself amidst the chaos." I threw up right after. Not because of the money. Because of the shamelessness. I called Mom at 11 p.m. She picked up on the first ring. "Did you buy a MacBook?" I asked bluntly. "Oh, that was for Emily," Mom stammered. "She needed it to work remotely. And the retreat, it was to help her stabilize mentally. She cried for a whole month, didn't you see?" "With my money," I said, my voice hollow. "You make more than the rest of us combined, Vic. A few thousand shouldn't mean anything to you, right? I thought you wouldn't mind." I hung up. I couldn't believe I had just heard that from the woman who gave birth to me. My mother didn't apologize, she justified it. Like I was a bank, not her daughter. I didn't cry, I just felt empty. That night, I took a pair of scissors, cut the secondary credit card in half, and tossed it in the trash. But the cut inside me wasn't so easy to heal. At 6:17 p.m. the next evening, loud knocking slammed against my door. I was in the kitchen, pouring boiling water into a chamomile teacup, and nearly spilled the whole kettle. Looking through the peephole, I wasn't surprised. Mom, Dad, and Emily. All three of them crammed together in the third-floor hallway of my apartment building, their faces flushed. Out of anger, embarrassment, or humiliation in front of the neighbors? Maybe all of it. I didn't open the door right away. I let them knock a few more times. Just enough to stretch the tension. "Victoria, you're being ridiculous," my mom yelled, her voice at least an octave higher than normal. "We're living like it's the Stone Age," Dad bellowed from behind. Emily pounded on the door so hard I thought her hand would go straight through the wood. "Open up, or are you seriously letting the whole family go insane without Netflix or hot water?" I took a deep breath and opened the door. Just as Emily raised her hand to bang again, nearly stumbling inside. I kept the door halfway open, my expression ice cold. "Come in. But anyone who raises their voice over 3 decibels, I'm calling the cops," I said. No smile, no trembling. My small apartment instantly turned into a mini war zone. Mom started crying. Dad paced the room like a caged lion. And Emily, just as I expected, screamed. "Who do you think you are, the queen? You can't just cut everything off because your feelings are hurt." I gave a cold laugh, pulled my phone from my coat pocket and held up the screen. On it was the latest statement. Every charge, every auto payment. I'm not hurt. I'm used. And I just ended it. Dad grimaced. "It's not that big a deal, Vic. You're blowing this out of proportion. We relied on you a little." "But that's only because we trusted you, right?" "A little?" I raised an eyebrow. "Since you lost your job in 2020, I've paid over $26,000 just to keep the lights on. Mom goes to the spa, Emily to retreats, and everyone uses my card without even asking. That's your idea of a little?" Mom's voice cracked. "Victoria, you know I didn't mean to." "No, you just assumed I'd never say no. You're used to it." I cut her off, firm. Emily stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "So what now? You want us to get on our knees and beg?" I placed my phone on the table. Pulled a stack of papers from my document folder. "No need to kneel, just sign," I said, setting them down in front of Emily. "The lease transfer for your pearl-colored SUV. You have 30 days to move it out of my name. After that, I'm notifying the lender to freeze the account. Emily turned pale. You've got to be kidding. I don't qualify for a loan on my own. Not my problem. I tried to help you. You used that to treat me like a fool. I turned to Mom. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, all streaming accounts I've stopped renewing. Don't bother trying to log in. Tomorrow night, I'll reset every password and remove all devices. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Are you punishing your own family? I looked straight at him. I didn't blink. It's not punishment, it's liberation. It's not that I don't love you. I just won't let myself be used anymore. The room went silent, a heavy kind of silence, like something was about to crack. I thought Mom would say something, an apology, a moment of remorse. But no. You'll regret this, she whispered, tears falling silently. Family isn't something you can switch on and off like a light. I nodded. Yes, but self-respect does, and today I turned it on. Emily walked out first without saying a word. She slammed into the doorframe on her way out, leaving behind a sharp, echoing thud. Mom followed, eyes red, never once looking at me. Dad was the last. He stood there for a long moment, then shook his head. You're pushing yourself away from everyone. When the day comes that you need someone, no one will be there. I closed the door behind him. Better that than keep living around people who only need me when my wallet's full. And then I locked the bolt. Separated myself from them. No more bells. No more guilt. No more burden called filial duty. After the three of them left my apartment like a small storm that had lost its wind, I waited for something. Maybe a call, a message, even just an email titled, "We need to talk." But there was nothing, no phone call, no message, no knock at the door. Complete silence. Strangely, it didn't make me feel lonely. On the contrary, I felt lighter. As if, after all these years, the space I lived in was finally mine, no longer covered in demands, accusatory tones, or the haunting smell of invisible responsibility. 3 days after the confrontation, I opened Instagram to post a photo of the latte I made myself. Right at the top was Emily's story. Black background, white text, her classic passive-aggressive tactic. Some people will leave you when you need them most, but God sees everything, and karma is real. Underneath was a broken heart emoji, followed by the hashtag, family betrayal. I didn't like it. Didn't reply. I didn't need to. I took a screenshot, then exited the app like tossing an old bill into a fire. I was no longer the one who had to explain, clarify, or justify the truth. 2 days later, something truly unexpected happened. An email from Kelly, the wife of my cousin Ben, whom I rarely kept in touch with. The last time I saw her was at their wedding 3 years ago. A gentle woman, always keeping her distance from the rest of the family, like she was quietly observing from the sidelines. Subject: I just wanted to say. Sender: kellyheartworks@gmail.com. Victoria. I know this might surprise you, I saw everything at the Easter gathering. From beginning to end. I was in the corner of the kitchen when your mom turned you away, and I saw the look in your eyes when Emily said those things. I just wanted to say, thank you. No one in this family has ever stood up like that. Dared to cut ties. Dared to say enough. I always thought I was weak for staying silent, but you made me realize that not pushing back isn't grace. It's erasing yourself. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. I hope you're okay. Kelly. I sat staring at the screen for a long time. No tears, no nostalgia. Just a quiet feeling rising in my chest. Someone finally saw me. Not as a walking wallet, not as a shadow behind everyone's criticisms. But as a person, truly real, with boundaries and a voice. I typed my response word by word. Thank you, Kelly. I'm better than I've ever been. And your email is the first thing in a long time that made me feel not entirely alone. I used to think silence was the end. But maybe it's just the beginning. Victoria. I hit send. The email window closed. But another door inside me opened. I began to realize some relationships aren't worth holding on to. Some voices, the more you try to blend with, the more you lose yourself. My family? They think I'm a traitor, an ungrateful daughter. Cold. But I know what really happened. And now, I don't need to prove it anymore. I cleaned up the apartment. Deleted all autopay apps. Removed unknown devices from Netflix. Reset every password. This little apartment that used to be just a place I came back to sleep. Now it's where I truly exist. That night, I turned off my phone. Not because I was angry at anyone, but because I no longer needed to wait for someone to forgive me. For protecting myself. After years of feeling like the only lifeboat. In a family drowning in demands and blame. For the first time, I had come up for air. I no longer flinch when the phone rings. No more tightness in my chest when a bank notification pops up. No more scrambling to solve the math problem of how to survive after paying their electric bill. Instead, I wake up in a small, quiet apartment, no one blaming me, no one waiting for me to open my wallet, no one calling me a selfish person with money. I started living. The first thing I did was buy a second-hand nylon string guitar on Craigslist. Warm tone, just $60. Clean and still had a sticker that said easy to learn. It had sat in the corner of my living room for a long time, just decor. But now, it's the first sound I hear every morning. My fingers clumsily pressed C chord, then D, then G. Each note that rang out felt like a piece of old shackles breaking off. No one rushing me. No one mocking me. No one yelling from the next room to turn it down. Just me, and the sound filling my own space. Then, I signed up for a weekend photography class at the local community center. It was just a beginner class, but when I held a camera for the first time in 10 years, my heart raced like I was skipping school to do something forbidden. I photographed everything, from a rusty fence behind the parking lot, to sunlight through a glass of iced tea on a table. Every click of the shutter was a moment I existed without needing anyone's permission. One day I ran into Melissa, an old college classmate, once my best friend, who slowly drifted away because I was always too busy being the eldest daughter in a chaotic family. She recognized me first. "Victoria? Is that really you?" Melissa exclaimed in a small cafe in Old Town. "You look lighter than before." We talked for hours. Old memories came rushing back. Days we hid in the library to cram for exams, secret weekend road trips, laughing so hard it hurt because of a dumb joke. I told her everything that happened. No sugarcoating, no exaggeration, just told it like capturing an old photograph. Real, unedited. Melissa didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty sympathy. She just held my hand and said, "You're braver than anyone I've ever known." Those words were simple, but they made my heart feel less frozen than I thought it was. And then I started writing. At first, just a few lines in a journal, then short stories, about a woman lost in a nameless city, about wounds that don't bleed but still ache deep in the bones. No one edited. No one judged. I wrote for myself, for the girl named Victoria who had forgotten her own voice after years of being the loudspeaker for other people's needs. This week I have dinner plans with friends from my photography class. Next week, I'll go to the book fair in Santa Barbara. And tonight, I'll make myself a mug of hot chocolate, curl up on the sofa, and reread the stories I once wrote. Not to revise them, but to honor every word I once dared to speak. Someone once asked me, "Is silence worth it without a family?" I used to think no. But now, I know. Silence isn't being shut out. Silence is a gift I gave myself after too many years of living in other people's noise. I'm no longer a victim. I'm not anyone's savior. I'm no longer defined by how many bills I've paid. I am Victoria, 28 years old, living in my own little apartment. Learning guitar, learning photography, writing stories, and smiling at life. For the first time, because I want to. Not because someone else needs me to. I had just come back from my photography class when I saw something taped to my apartment door. The hallway light glowed yellow over a thin white envelope, loosely held by a strip of clear tape. No delivery person, no sender name. Just one line on the front. From Mom. Written in the handwriting I'd known since elementary school. I didn't open it right away. I sat down on the sofa, set my camera aside, and poured myself a glass of cold water. It wasn't until the sky turned fully dark, and the city lights cast shadows on my wall, that I slowly pulled out the thin paper, folded in thirds. Victoria? I don't know where to begin, and I don't know if you'll even read this letter. But I want you to remember that no matter how angry you are, no matter how far you choose to go from us, you are still my daughter. Even if you forget that. I never will. I've made many mistakes. Maybe I relied on you too much. Maybe I didn't protect you from Emily's harsh words. But I'm your mother. I'm not perfect, but I love you. Your father doesn't fully understand. And Emily, she's still young, she doesn't know how to express herself. But I believe, deep down, everyone knows how important you are. The house hasn't been the same since you left. The water line broke, Wi-Fi went out, everything's been a mess. But it's not just because of those things. It's because you're gone. You're still my flesh and blood. And you always will be, whether you forgive us or not. Mom. I folded the letter, placed it on the table, and sat still. No tears, not a single drop. No anger either. No bitterness. No emotional strings being pulled like before. All I felt was peace. I used to think I'd break down when my mother finally said I love you. Used to long for an apology. Used to crave acknowledgement, understanding, just to be held as a real part of the family. But now, I looked at the letter like an old slip of paper that missed the train. It came too late. It no longer mattered. Because I no longer stood at that platform. I don't need those words to live. Don't need a handwritten letter to exist. Don't need belated tears to validate years of being treated like a silent 18. I am no longer the shadow of that family. I am Victoria, 28 years old. Living alone, not because no one wanted to keep me, but because I chose to let go of those who only kept me when they needed something. I lit a scented candle by the window. The smell of cinnamon and vanilla filled the small apartment. I played music, not the kind Emily used to force on everyone, but my favorite acoustic piece I'd just learned on guitar. I stood in front of the mirror and looked into my own eyes. No more panic. No more hidden exhaustion. Just clarity. I no longer live as my mother's daughter, but as the author of my own life. They can call me ungrateful. They can spin all the stories they want. I don't care. Because for the first time in years, I am no longer the backup character in a play called The Perfect Family. I am the lead in a story titled Victoria, the woman who is strong enough to rise, walk away, and never look back. From Victoria's story, I realized that sometimes the bravest thing isn't forgiveness. It's walking away from the relationships that drained you. Family doesn't always mean unconditional love. Sometimes, staying true to your own worth means daring to say enough, and choosing peace instead. Setting boundaries isn't betrayal, it's survival, for a soul that's been too tired from loving and enduring at the same time. What do you think about Victoria's decision? Was she too harsh, or was it necessary for her to truly live? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful family stories to come.